and welcome to Dustin's Kaleidoscope. I am Dustin, and I am here today with Karen Stradford, the author of Raw. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Thank
you. I actually saw a short interview that you did here at the high school, and I thought the premise of your book was so interesting and how it was basically a dedication to your dad. So I want to talk about the book, but before we do that, I'd love to get a little bit, learn a little bit more about your background. So can you tell us about your background in general?
Sure. Well, I'm a special education English teacher at the high school, Columbia High School. I started as my first thing I wanted to do when I was in college. So English major, journalism minor, but it didn't work out that way. I took a summer job as a paraprofessional.
Oh, okay.
Working one-on-one with a student.
Right.
And
as a high school or college student? Or?
No, it was an elementary.
Oh, elementary.
Student, yes.
Okay.
And I loved it. I loved it. And it was a student he had autism.
Oh, okay.
And I loved it. So after that, I wanted to learn everything about everything that could possibly, help to work with the student. And then I just forget about journalism. I want to go back and be a teacher. I wanted to just solve everything, So I went back for that. So then I got my teaching license, and then I went on my master's degree, and I kept going. I got my learning consultant, LDTC.
Okay.
Then I went back and I got my supervisory. Wow. And I just wanted to do everything and anything. I wanted to test everybody and, just learn everything I can do just to better the lives of children.
And that's how you.
So that's how I got started.
So you went from journalism to teaching.
Yeah,
students.
I found something that I really wanted to do, and I just kept going at it. And I love teaching.
And so now you teach only in the high school, or do you teach other grades as well?
No, well, I'm in a high school, but I teach from 9 to 12.
Oh, okay.
To 9 to 12 graders.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And so these are students who are. Have like diverse abilities, or
just varies.
Oh, okay.
It just varies the needs.
Okay.
But it's just being around the students. I really enjoy that.
Okay.
I think I like that better than journalism.
Well, it sounds like you.
I found what I wanted to do, and I just stuck with it.
Right. Well, how far into journalism, like that education, when you decided that you would switch?
Well, maybe a couple of years into it when in college. Yeah, that's what I thought I wanted to do. Because I enjoy writing.
Okay.
So I thought that I wanted to just do journalism, and then I had that summer job, and that just changed everything.
That student must have been phenomenal for you, like to switch gears like that.
Kid. He was loving. A very loving kid.
Wow. So you really found your path.
And I wanted to do everything I could to. Just to help him and help him learn, and I just took it from there, and that was the best thing I could ever done.
And so, how did that how did you transition from teaching to writing? And I know you're doing them parallel to each other. So how did you express yourself writing while also teaching? How did that come about?
Well, I just started by being an English teacher. I just start, you just start writing. Writing is just one of the joys of teaching English, so I just build on, what I learned.
And how did you, were you journaling? Were you writing short stories? Did you start with
always
poems?
writing. No, I didn't always start with poems. I just like making notes.
Oh.
I just like writing things down, everything, So
like you'd be at the store and then
I just start writing things down, and then I just, and then after, my father passed away, I just started finding a way to, make my things come together,
Okay.
you know.
So how
And it
did
was
you?
easy to get the poetry in there.
So how did you transition from writing notes to actual poetry? Like, did you have experience with poetry?
Yeah. No, I went to a workshop.
Oh, really?
I went to a workshop from my friend had a workshop.
Okay.
And
this was a poetry
yeah,
workshop?
it was a poetry workshop.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed it. So after that, well, I was already writing stuff, but after that, I just went home and I just started putting things into like certain rhythms, and I just started to, start to put things together that way.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it.
So the workshop basically allowed you to take your notes or your thoughts and put them into some like methodology,
Yes.
so that
It was
they were
like a
poems.
structure. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And how did you find? I mean, so for someone who is writing in a completely different way, how did you find the transition from writing in that way to writing poems? Was it difficult? Was it easy?
No, it wasn't difficult at all.
No?
It wasn't difficult. No. Like it was like I got the rhythm of, taking what I think a lot.
Okay.
So I'll just think of everything. So I start thinking of, okay, what I did during the workshop, and then how I really want to structure it. And then everything I started writing, I just started to put together, in a more of a uniformed way.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
it's a process. It's a process.
It sounds like you took to it very quickly, and you sound like one of those people who, when you actually go to a class or a workshop, you don't say like, yeah, that was a great class or workshop, and never revisit it, but it sounds like you took those tools and actually used them.
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I know this is, Raw, the book that we're talking about today, is one of your poetry books, but have you done poetry? Have you ever done any other poetry books, or is this your first one?
No, this is my first one.
Okay.
This is my first one.
And so were you doing, so before this, were you just writing poems? Like when you went to that workshop, did you just say, okay, I want to start writing poems now? And
well, when I went to the workshop, I came up with a poem about Jimi Hendrix.
oh, okay.
Yeah. It was just something off the top of my head, and I scribbled down my notes. And then they asked if anybody wanted to share. So I said, okay, I'll share. So I went up there and I shared my poem about Jimmy. And I got applause. So
That must have been rewarding, really nice.
And then when I went home, I decided to, I really started thinking, and that's when I started to take my thoughts anyway that I had from before, like my notes, and I started to put them into, my poems. So I was writing because it was enjoyable.
Okay.
And then like a little time later, my father passed away. Then I went into the more of the grief writing.
Okay.
And then I wanted to start, really putting myself out there and start to reflect on, everything in my life.
And so, why poetry? Like, why poetry, not longhand, writing, after your father passed? What was it about poetry?
No, it was just more of I felt it was more. It was more concise when I was writing.
Oh, okay.
It was more like it was like the pattern of what I wanted to say, and I wanted to. It was easier for me to make a point of what I was trying to say when I was writing.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
And I really enjoyed it.
Okay.
It helped me keep my thoughts together.
Okay, in a very concise way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I like
really
that
enjoyed
idea.
it.
I like that idea because sometimes you can get lost in like the long prose, but I like the fact that you were able to use your poetry workshop and actually use those skills. So this Raw is your first poetry book.
Very first.
And you actually, like as you just said, it was precipitated because of your father's passing. So I know that you have a wonderful poem in here called Daddy. Would you mind reading that
Oh,
one?
absolutely.
Okay.
Daddy. Okay. The light shines on your face as you lie in a cobalt casket. Your spirit simmers eternal. Our pleasant conversations over chuck full of nuts, bagels, and scrambled eggs as Channel 2 News rouses the activities of the day. My fierce advocate, like a builder repairing a difficult task, your strength gives me comfort and guidance. As the sun continues to rise, your heavenly presence will forever stir throughout my life. So that's my dedication to my daddy. Because this
beautiful.
really explains just about everything. Obviously, the first part is, following his funeral. I wrote this, and the cobalt casket. That was the color of the casket. It was it's like cobalt. It's like a greenish blue. So, but the way everything was positioned in the church, the way the casket was, it was a skylight. And the sun just beamed on him as he lay there, and it just engulfed his whole body, So it's that part, and it was just something so, it was just wonderful to see, how he was just shining in that moment,
Right.
And then the rest, is every morning. I don't live far from my parents, but I used to stop by every morning, and he used to have breakfast waiting for me.
That's so nice.
Coffee brewing, chuck full of nuts.
Wow.
The eggs and the bagels, and and it was wonderful. And he watched Channel 2 News every morning.
Okay.
And then he was my fiercest advocate. He was always there. He was like dad of the year, kind of. So this is everything. So his presence will always be there.
Okay.
So that's what this
That's
is
such
about.
a beautiful poem, and you captured. I understand precisely what you were talking about when you said everything's concise, everything is captured within a few lines, but they're done in such a way that you get your point across. I could see you at your parents' house. Actually having breakfast with them. I saw the cobalt. I saw everything. So that's wonderful.
So, and another thing, when you're writing, no one wants to read a long, drawn out. They want you to get to the point,
Right.
of your feelings, And this is what I'm hoping that my book does.
And you know what? I read the book in one sitting. I thought it was. I was just captivated by the way that you expressed yourself. And we're almost done with this segment, but during the second segment I know you're going to read a poem that's specific to this area. But I just thought, I read each poem and I understood each one. You didn't have to be here to tell me like, well, this is what I mean. When you talked about the coffee, for, in your dad's poem, I got everything. I got the sense of everything. So we are out of time right now for this segment, but we're going to come back in one moment.
Okay.
This is Dustin's Kaleidoscope, and we will be back in one moment.
It's an onion.
Hi, and welcome back to Dustin's Kaleidoscope. I am here with Karen Lee Stradford, the author of Raw, and you were just telling us, you were giving us a little bit of the background about the poem Daddy, which is basically the impetus for this entire book. So I wanted to delve into the actual writing of the book. Was it cathartic to write the book after your dad's passing? Were you thinking about that the whole time? I know the entire book does not there are other poems as well. Can you give us an idea of how you were feeling when you wrote the book?
Well, after my father passed away, I realized when you lose someone so close to you, so special to you, father was everything to me. So, I went through my own grieving process, and it just gave me a chance to reflect on other parts of my life.
Okay.
Like, a breakup, the state of the world,
Right.
How I feel about my mom, hanging out with my sister, just different parts of your life and different events that you just want to talk about, homelessness, like all the things that you think about and you just want to, your raw emotions,
Right.
you just want to just put it into some kind of, put it into words.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to just feel like I was just closing myself up. I was grieving, I miss my dad, having a hard time. But, I felt my best way of dealing with that was just to write it out.
So it was cathartic for you to do
Yes,
this.
definitely.
Okay.
So it started with him, with Daddy, but then I started thinking about other things,
Okay.
And it's not like I'm ranting, but you just want to let things out.
Right.
So that's what you're just reflecting on, different parts, of your life.
And I think a lot of people who read the book will relate to that, just because you're, as we mentioned in the first half, you said you have to be very concise and you have to nobody wants to read a long time to get to the point.
Yes.
And I think your book does an excellent job of that, which leads me to the next question. How long did it take you to write all of these poems? Are these all the poems you wrote? Did you discard some? Are there some that you wish you could have had, like after you published it, that you wished you could have had in it?
No. Well, the first thing it took me about a year and a half.
Okay.
About a year and a half. Yeah.
Okay.
I started, and then after I started grieving, it took that whole rest of the year. And what happened was I started to wake up in the middle of the night and just write stuff. I would just
really?
Thinking of things, and I would write it down and write my thoughts and just putting everything,
Okay.
all my emotions out there.
Wow.
And it was just it was just endless, so it just had to just let it out. So if it just in the middle of the night, and if I was somewhere, I would just jot it down on a piece of paper, So
you're one of those people who has a notebook and pencil.
Yeah, I do. I do.
So you're ready.
And if I don't have that, I'll use my phone.
That was my next question. Do you prefer the pen and paper, or do you prefer the notes on your phone? Or do you not
I think
care?
the phone. Now,
really? Okay.
Because, I have it with me, and if I think of something, I'll just... But
jot
at
it
first,
down.
I started with the pen and paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just have scraps of paper because I was just kept thinking of things
Right.
that I wanted to say.
And so these weren't only things about your father. These were just thoughts you were having about the
Yeah,
world and
yeah.
just everything.
My raw emotions about is anything. I started off grieving, but then I started to reflect on the other parts of my life. I have a good life. My father, incredible. My parents gave me an incredible life. And as you start reflecting on things from sad to happy to, like I said, you can apologize to somebody.
Right.
Somebody said something mean to you, Thick Skin is one of the poems.
Exactly, yes.
Just things that you just deal with over time. Or it's just things that you see. Or personal things about myself. I notice I write in here.
Oh, okay. So how did you feel about, these are raw emotions, and you're putting yourself out there. Did you feel vulnerable when you wrote the poems and then when you actually published them, or did you just feel like this is just
when
who I
I
am?
well, when I wrote it, I was just writing it. I didn't care what people.
Right.
At the time. I was like, I'm just writing this. I don't care.
Right.
But then, after I actually wrote it and it was going to the poet, I said to myself, wait a minute, did I actually
What have I done?
did I really write that? But hey, that's the way I feel. So, you know,
it's
that's
who
the
you
way I
are. So
feel.
yeah.
So it's nothing to be ashamed of.
Right.
It's
So-
just that's my raw emotions.
Yeah, which is perfect title for
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And that was that the impetus for the title, the raw emotions. Okay.
Yeah, raw. And somebody said, well, why is it red? Because raw. When you think of raw, you think of blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you also think of the red is because of love.
Right.
Because there's love in here.
Right, there's a lot
like
of
I have
love
a
there.
poem in here about someone that I'm really fond of. So there's everything is not bad. It's like Vine, my poem Vine.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Would you like to read that one?
That's about a significant person.
Okay.
And so every poem has a purpose. It
I
has a
love
reason,
that. It's not just random.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, like Vine. Okay. And today's Valentine's Day, so it's fitting.
Okay.
Okay. You grow on me like a fresh vine strangling a withered tree. Your grip so tight I cannot move, so I flounder. You loosen your grip just enough to let me breathe. I exhale and realize.
Wow.
So you let that sink in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah,
So when you're writing something like this, how many iterations are you going through when you are you one of these people who you just have the perfect words and you don't have to go through and revise, or do you keep tweaking it?
No, I tweak because sometimes I have a word and someone like, I don't like that word, because it's all about the wording. Sometimes it's even the placement of a comma. No, because when you read something and if you have the comma in the wrong spot, when someone is reading it, it takes on a whole different meaning.
That's so true. That's so true. Yes.
So it's like word placement, word usage, a comma in the wrong spot, a dash, so it has to flow. And if it doesn't sound right, you change it.
And so when you are writing your poems, do you also read them? Because reading and writing them, you have different.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And that's once you read it, then you
I read
get
it
an
through.
idea of
Exactly.
What,
Yeah, I read it through, and then if the word doesn't fit right, then or it doesn't have the right sound, you wanna fix that.
Okay.
Because you're reading it, but then someone else is reading it.
Right.
And,
it's very different from speaking it and reading it. To me, I feel like
exactly. It is.
Yeah.
It is. So
there was another poem that I really liked. It was Loving Mother.
Oh yes.
Would you read that for us?
She would love that one. Okay. Loving Mom. Lillian Mariah. You're the first person to show me true love. Teach me to respect myself, others, and worship God. My best friend, it's difficult to express exactly how much you mean to me. Somehow, no adjective seems suitable. You're a proud lady who knows she's blessed and leads by example. Like a gentle force of nature, your dignity and strong presence can fill any room. Your comfort and helpful advice is one of a kind. I celebrate you with flowers while you can smell them. Add to your garden of love.
That's beautiful. And like I said, the part that I like the most in that is that last part of it, which is celebrating people while they can appreciate it. So many times we don't even tell people how much we appreciate them until we can't.
Exactly.
So I thought that was such a nice poem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I started off with my father, but then, you know, but my mother is, you know, my mother's here, you
Right.
know, and she's a loving mom.
Apparently,
And
yeah.
I had to show it. I had to write about it
Right.
now. Why
Right.
write a poem about her when there's, you know, didn't make sense. Since I'm putting all my raw emotions out there, I might as well. This is how I feel about my mother.
Yeah. So
You know,
I
because
really
she
enjoyed
is,
that.
you know, all the things that I say she is in here.
And the other thing I liked about your book is that you actually have photographs. So that was such a wonderful thing to see the different photographs of, you know, the people that you're talking about. So it gives you sort of a face to go with the words. So
Yeah. So this is, you know, these are my feelings.
okay, there we only have like a minute and a half left. So could you read one more that
Sure.
is relevant to specifically to our area?
Oh,
The Blue
yes,
Shed.
yes, the blue shed. Okay.
Yes.
All right, let me
And
see.
I wonder how many of our viewers will know what she's talking about.
Oh,
I knew
yes.
immediately. So
Oh, the blue shed. It's midday. The town is active. I sit at the long red light, watching intently as people wearing fancy face masks walk on Springfield Avenue, dodging in and out of restaurants and traffic. A small blue shed sits near the sidewalk, welcoming those who might need to enter. A young boy opens the door, quickly fills his knapsack with cans, then leaves with a smile. And I'm sure if you're from this area, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
yes,
You know, and, you know, when I ride around town, I'm always find myself at that same light, traffic light, you know, and I look across and I see the diner, and then I see that blue shed. And there's one particular day of this boy, well, for one thing, you know, people were, you know, walking up and down. This is back when more of the pandemic, when everybody was wearing the face masks.
right.
And, you know, people were walking in and out, coming from the diner or the store across the street and everything. Everybody had a mask on. But there's this one boy who went to that shed. He didn't have a mask on, you know, for whatever reason. And he put cans in his knapsack quickly because I was at the light.
Right.
And then he just walked away, and he was happy as can be because he got his cans, his food from the shed, you know.
Wow. And that's the way it
Yeah.
should be. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, we have run out of time.
Okay.
But if you could just let us know in one sentence, like where people can find your book.
Sure. Well, right now, my book is available on Amazon.com.
Okay. Perfect.
Well, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and there's actually the bookstore in town carries it too.
Okay.
Words Bookstore,
Perfect.
they carry it too.
Thank you so much
sure.
for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
This was such a lovely discussion, and what a great dedication the book is for your dad.
Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. I'm Dustin Dumas, and you have been watching Dustin's Kaleidoscope, and we will see you next time. Bye.